Back at you with another one, and thank you for joining me for another video. There's only one place to start off today, and that is of course Martin Ødegaard has joined Arsenal on loan from Real Madrid. So let's take a little insight of the young Norwegian and what he's had to say about the move to North London. So let's look at Edu's quotes. So Edu said, "We are delighted to welcome Martin to the club until the end of the season. I would like to thank everyone at Real Madrid and Martin's representative for their collaboration in making this loan move happen. Martin is an exceptional talent and we are strengthening our squad by introducing an exciting offensive player to the club for the remaining months of the season." Mikel Arteta has had to say, "It's great that we've secured Martin to come to us until the end of the season. Martin is of course a player that we all know very well, and although still young, he has been playing at the top level for a while. Martin will provide us with the quality offensive options, and we're all excited to be integrating him into our plans between now and May." So he doesn't have much time, but he is a young, talented player, and we sort of seen that from his loan spells in Eredivisie as well as Real Sociedad. So it's whether he can translate that to the Premier League on a consistent basis. He does have quite a lot of Mesut Ozil about him. So they're both attacking players, they're both left-footed, and funny enough, they both share the same initial in MO, and they both joined Arsenal wearing the same number, and that is number 11 of course. So Martin Ødegaard has been awarded number 11, despite many people thinking that he would come in and take the vacant number 10 shirt that Ozil left. So yeah, there you go. Martin will wear a number 11 shirt. Everyone at Arsenal welcomes Martin to the club. The loanee agreement is subject to the completion of legal and regulatory process. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to go read more, oh, there you go. Actually, let's read some quotes on Martin and how he feels about joining the club. So Martin has said, "In Norway, the Premier League is really big," Ødegaard told Arsenal.com. "Since I was a little kid there, we always watched all the games, me and my friends." Speaking on that, I've actually heard him and his father are big Liverpool fans, so it will be interesting to see if he does mention that later on. "I think it's the biggest league, especially in Norway, so for me it's always been a dream to play in the Premier League, and I always liked the way Arsenal played and everything about the club, so it's a dream come true in many ways. There were a lot of Arsenal players I admired, but I think Fabregas for me was one of my idols when I grew up, so especially him. The way he controls the game, the way he dictated the game, his ability to give assists and also to score goals, everything about his game I tried to learn as much as possible. When I grew up watching him, he was the top player." Alright. Not bad, not a bad role model to have. So if Cesc Fabregas is your role model, I guess that's a good track. And if you can have, let's say, half the impact Cesc has had at the club, then you're already on your way to being a top player here at Arsenal. My only issue is we should have inserted some sort of maybe not necessarily an obligation to buy, but some sort of buy option later on, in case if he does well, then what happens? Is he just going to go back to Real Madrid, and then that leaves us with another gaping hole that we need to fill up in the summer again? So I think maybe we can, I don't know, I've heard we've got a gentleman's agreement, but for me, unless things are sort of set in stone in writing, then it just means nothing really. But I think that's a decent signing. I know many people, well, depending on who you sort of speak to, some of the fan base are really excited. Some of the fan base aren't that fussed or just don't believe he will provide an impact. But for me, it's all about squad and depth. And we sort of saw what happened to ESR yesterday's game, where he actually had to come off due to an injury. I'm not sure if it was a dead leg, it could be serious, but with games coming, you know, thick and fast from now until the end of May, we definitely need a backup option. And I think Martin Ødegaard, well, I'm hoping anyway, that he can sort of make the step up and help the team out when Emil Smith-Rowe is actually out or being rested, and therefore we're not really realising that we've got that massive gap in midfield, because we did lack that for quite a while until Smith-Rowe was introduced to the team, and then things have changed. But Anyways, that's enough on mine, Ødegaard. All the best, and to be fair, I don't think we will make any other signings unless it's a left back, and I think we still need to get a left back, so I can't imagine us signing other positions, and if we were to bring anyone else in for the remainder of the window, I reckon it will be a left back. But anyways, moving on nicely to yesterday's game, we actually produced, I wouldn't say a masterclass, but a very, very good positive performance. And much of this season I've always sort of said, you know what, we'll beat this low opposition, we didn't really play well, but I thought that was a very convincing performance, and we had goals by the whole front three guys, so Nicolas Pepe, Saka and Lacazette, and I don't believe that has happened since we beat West Ham under Freddie Ljungberg, when Aubameyang, Martinelli and Nicolas Pepe all scored. So it's a very, very good sign to have our front three players all scoring goals. And that is going to be a massive conundrum for Mikel Arteta and what he does going forward. Once Aubameyang is back, does he go straight over to the left hand side? Because can you really right now drop Nicolas Pepe after the performance he had? We'll get into more about the performances and also the player ratings and more about Nicolas Pepe. But it was great to see a lot of the players yesterday did dedicate that victory to Aubameyang, and regardless with what Aubameyang's going through, and yes, he's not been playing well this season, we always have to bear in mind he is our captain. And although I might not necessarily agree he should be the right captain, because I still think Kieran Tierney, I still rate Aubameyang very highly at this club, and he's still a very, very important player, and you can sort of see it amongst the peers and what kind of impact he has. So whatever Aubameyang's going through, you know, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all Arsenal fans out there. We really wish you all the best, Aubameyang, and hopefully you come back into that fine form before you left off. And hopefully it's nothing too serious, and we'll get to sort of see Auba back very soon. Anyways, looking at the match stats, we had 9 shots to their 13. We both had 5 shots on target. They dominated the position. I wouldn't say necessarily dominate, but they edged that by 58% to our 42%. That is quite surprising, because when watching that game, I thought we were sort of clear winners. But then if you were to sort of review the stats, it looks like actually they might have just edged us on sort of shots and possession. So interesting, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you never ever go through a game via stats, because stats do not show you the full picture. But so where does that leave us now in the league table? We've been in fine form. I can't remember the last, I think is it 5-6 games now we haven't lost, and that's pretty impressive. I think it's been the best form since Mikel Arteta has been appointed at Arsenal. And with yesterday's game, that leaves us nicely in 8th position. However, the teams behind us, as you can see, they've all played less games than us. So for example, Aston Villa have played 3 games less, Chelsea have played 1 game less, so has Southampton and Leeds United. Leeds United 26 points. Yep, so if they win a game in hand, that's 29. Southampton, if they win their game in hand, that's 32. Likewise with Chelsea. And if they win if they win all 3 games, that puts them in 9 points with 38, and that puts Aston Villa right back up on the sort of top 4 position. So in hindsight, we haven't really developed much on the table, but still a steady improvement. Does that mean I'm now back on board with Mikel Arteta? No, because I still feel as if there are many signs that he's still not really there yet, and he's still experimenting. And I think if he sort of addresses quite a few of these issues, then I'm sure myself and many other fans out there who are skeptical over his managerial decisions and him as a manager itself will come on board, because I'm not adverse to him as a person. It's just some of his decision making I've questioned quite often. And in particular, bringing Bellerina back yesterday. We'll get on to Bellerina. First and foremost, let's get on to Bernd Leno, who I thought, again, Very, very good game. And you can tell Bernd Leno's doing really well recently, because there's no mention of Emi Martinez. I'm not even speaking about Martinez anymore. And that shot to stop Ward-Prowse free kick, yes, it was on his side, but still he got a good hand to it. A few decent saves he made as well. I thought Bernd Leno, he can hold his head up high, and he is one of our consistent player. And for me, he gets a 7. Bellerina. When speaking about some of the decisions I question on Mikel Arteta, Bellerina has to be there right at the top with Willian. It's just, I'm not really understanding this fascination of Bellerina. It's just so funny that Cedric, who for me had a much better game as a left back when his natural position is a right back, than Bellerin did as a right back. And yet somehow Bellerin is he's a first option for that right back spot. How is this guy, who by nature is a right back, but somehow outperforming you in a different position, yet you are somehow the club's first choice right back? It's stuff like this I'm trying to understand why Mikel Arteta is so persistent. It's, for me, going forward, we've seen enough now, yeah? Once Kieran Tierney is back, Tierney has to play on that left hand side, and please, I beg you, no more Bellerina. It has to be Cedric. And if anything happens to Cedric, God forbid, it has to be Ainsley. Some might say, oh yeah, but Ainsley didn't play that well against Crystal Palace. Yeah, because what? He didn't play for a few games, then just dropped in as left back. One day he's a right back, doesn't play for 6 games, then he's moved into midfield, doesn't play for 4 games, then moved as a left back, and then fans go cuss him. No, I'm sorry, man. I feel so sorry for Ainsley. He's being treated like Mikel Arteta's little slut, just does whatever Arteta tells him to do. And he's like, okay, Arteta, just, mate, if you don't rate the boy, just sell him, man. Should have let him go to Wolverhampton Wanderers, you know. Would have got that £25 million. And we'll be sat here laughing, and Ainsley won't be treated like a prick. But instead, it's like Bellerina gets, you know, treated so well. And this, for me, is that favouritism that needs to stop. Please start picking players based on merit and not based on, I don't know, what relationship you have with them. So for me, Bellerina, not probably the worst player, along with David Luiz on that pitch yesterday. He gets a 3 for me. 3, that's me being even kind to him. 3. Rob Holding, congratulations to Rob Holding. He's now played 100 games for the Arsenal. And that's a decent milestone from Rob Holding, and he actually had a decent game, and he's continuing to show us why he kind of warranted that contract. And I've always said, maintained, this guy, decent squad player, and needs to stay here. So for me, Rob Holding gets a 6. David Luiz, very poor. He kind of messed it up as well. One opportunity where he kind of gifted Adams a run through in behind, and if it wasn't for Holding making that block last minute, then we could have gone down. They could have narrowed the gap to sort of 3-2 at the time, and game might have ended differently. So for me, David Luiz gets a 3, same as Hector Bellerina. Cedric. I thought this guy at first, when the game started, looked a bit shaky, but gradually, you know, got into the game, and some of the sort of passes he was making across field to the right hand side, absolutely beautiful. In particular when sort of Saka crossed it in for Laka's goal, and that transition switch he did. You never ever see Bellerina do that. No, for me, Cedric now, yeah, is showing why Bellerina can never ever get back into the squad. Never. Once Tierney's back, as I said, we need Cedric, we need Tierney, we need Gabriel Magalhaes, and I would continue with Rob Holding, and I want to sort of see that back four going forward. But based on this game, Cedric, outstanding, gets an 8 for me. Granit Xhaka, to be fair, he done really well. He actually made the assist for Pepe's goal, and he didn't really put, you know, much wrong. Certain times he plays very safe rather than trying for the audacious through ball. He just goes, you know, sort of sideways. But in speaking, based on his average performance, that was a much better performance for Xhaka, so he gets a 7 for me. Thomas Partey. This is the thing with Thomas Partey. You expect so much from Partey because of what he has delivered in a little time, and by his standards, he was just average. He didn't even really impress, and I actually thought maybe on the balance of play, I'm gonna have to slightly edge it to Granit Xhaka as being the better pair. So for me, Partey gets a 6, while Xhaka gets a 7. Smith Rowe looked a bit tired, and with his sort of injury coming off, you could sort of tell maybe the games are getting to him, and thankfully we've now got Ødegaard in the door, and hopefully that can alleviate some pressure on the young Englishman. But based on yesterday's game, I'm going to give Smith Rowe a 6. Now we'll come back to little Chile. Let's start off with Nicolas Pepe. The amount of criticism he receives, and for me, this is what I'm trying to say. Just play Pepe over Willian. If you have an option between Willian and Pepe, do not even consider Willian, because what you get with Pepe is better output, and plus he's still got market value, and you do not want that to diminish by playing Willian ahead of him. So with his goal yesterday, some of the performance, just, you know, destroying souls with nutmeg after nutmeg, and you just think, wow, Pepe is kind of getting back. Yes, though, we have to bear in mind that he was at fault for Southampton's goal, just lost his man, stood there, and you're going to kind of get that with Pepe. But I think this is where Arteta's man management needs to come in. You're seeing now his confidence is starting to get there. Do not drop him. Do not. That would be the worst thing ever. What I just mentioned about Ainsley and how he's been mistreated, please do not do the same thing with Pepe. And I'm hoping Pepe does play, because he seems to fare well against Luke Shaw. So come Saturday, I'm sure he would have a field day. And if it's Telles playing instead, I'm sure Pepe will destroy him as well. So for me, Nicolas Pepe, based on yesterday's game, he gets an 8 for me. Played really well. Lacazette done really well to get a goal and assist. It was just unfortunate that he should have really taken that opportunity in the opening first few minutes of the game, and you could sort of see that he had too much time thinking about it too much. But in terms of getting his goal and setting up that assist for Saka, sorry, I thought he's had a good game, and he, like Pepe, can't be dropped either. So for me, Laka needs to play next game, Pepe needs to play next game, and based on this game's performance, I don't think he was as great as Pepe, even though he got an assist too, but I'm going to have to give him a 7. And what I mentioned about these two in form and they have to play against the game at United, Saka. The sort of God's child is here to save us. Saka needs to play without a doubt, man of the moment. You know what? 9 for me, man of the match. Do I need to go into detail as to why he's my man of the match? I don't think I really need to waste my breath on that. So man of the match, standard 9 for me. In terms of subs, we saw Willian come on, and for me, that was a bad move, very bad move. I would have brang on Martinelli. I would have played Pepe centrally in Smith Rowe's position, and I would have played Martinelli there, and just sort of seen what Pepe could have done through the middle, and because he did play in that role quite often at Lille. And it's just a shame that Willian, it's like he's got something inserted into his contract clause where it states, I must play every game. And for me, it's just frustrating. No one wants to see him, and the more he is picked over players, the more toxic he will be for Willian. And for Arteta's sake, he needs to stop that, because the more you play him, fans will get on his case and they will get on Arteta's case. So just, you know, sometimes just admit you got it wrong. You know what? My bad. I don't know why I signed this guy, but I fucked up, you know. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just, you know, take the heat off him, take the heat off myself, not play him. And then in the summer, we'll assess the situation and see what we can do with him. But based on yesterday's performance, did absolutely nothing when he came on. And that's all he's done since he's joined us. He gets a standard 5. 5, that's been too nice actually. He gets a 4. Mohamed Elneny does what Mohamed Elneny does. Close people well, but doesn't really offer much. He gets a standard 5. Joe Willock wasn't on long enough for me, so he gets a standard 5 as well. But in terms of comments, I've got Tom Green saying, Arteta wants to get us back to the top. He cares, but people can't see that. He doesn't have the players, but when he gets players in, we will thrive under him. You say that, but a lot of the players which I mentioned are sort of Arteta's players. Even though he might not have signed quite a few of them, he did request that they stay. For example, Holding's contract, David Luiz extension. You're talking about asking Granit Xhaka to stay, or Aubameyang's extension, along with Saka, Martinelli extension, Marie and Cedric being signed. You're talking about Thomas Partey, Gabriel Magalhaes, Ronaldsson, Willian. I can go on. So he does, a lot of the players are his. So unless you're trying to say they aren't his preferred options, then he's just had to accept those terms because of our financial constraint. And if that is what you're trying to say, then fair enough, but that point will be sort of made for any manager at Arsenal. You will never get back to 100% because of the cronkies and how tight they are. But appreciate the question. Next question by Alex Baker. Imagine we move like Chelsea. If we move like Chelsea, then back in December when we were 15th, Arteta would have been sacked. And to be fair, if we were like Chelsea, we would have been backed in the summer as well. So yes, Chelsea's ruthless, and that's because they've got an ambitious owner, and I really wish our owner could care just even 1% of what Roman does for Chelsea Football Club. Ali Abad, well said, last word. I have had enough of this club. It's so depressing. This guy is not the answer. It's a stopgap for bigger club for him. He will destroy and move to a big club. Yeah, with the whole moving to a big club, I think in terms of Arteta, he might destroy us. I can't say for sure. He might be a great manager in the near future, and what you're trying to say there, I get it, because he can come in here inexperienced, not do well, and then just take the learnings from Arsenal job, and then in the near future go to a big club, and from all his mistakes that he's learned from, implement it there, and then become a great manager. So yeah, absolutely see what you're coming from. Daniel Freeway, bro, Lampard getting sacked before Arteta says a lot about the club. Yeah, there's a reason why Chelsea have been the most successful club in English football in the last 15 to 20 years. And that's because of their owner. It all comes from high up, whereas we don't have that. Sam Brady, no ambition, just poor complacency. I agree, we need to band together. But do you think fans would even stage a walkout if given the opportunity? I think fans need to, because, and it does work. We've seen it previously at Liverpool Football Club when the owners tried to hike up ticket prices, and they all got together, and I believe that game they were winning, and I believe it was Aston Villa, don't quote me on that. And what happened was, as soon as the fans walked out, the game ended up in a draw. And then guess what, the owners came out and reversed the statement that they're no longer putting up the prices. So I think if you have enough momentum together, then it can happen. But the issue is with us as Arsenal fans, we're constantly divided and bickering. You either Wenger in, Wenger out. You're Arteta in, Arteta out. You either love Xhaka and Bellerino or you're not. You're either in the Mesut Ozil camp or you're not. We need to kind of stop this. Yes, I might not necessarily agree with someone on the manager, but just for the sake of our football club, at times we need to kind of sit here and think to ourselves, who is the biggest owner? And of course it's the owner. I mean, who's the biggest problem? And of course it's the owner. And that's where we got to come together, unified, and try and get rid of him. And so for me, if we can get together, definitely we are a lot stronger in numbers than we are divided. Okay, fair play. Jess Wilson, what's your prediction? You said narrow victory, but no scores. I actually said 1-0 to Arsenal. And fair play, you actually called it a 3-1. And I really, really hope you actually put money down on that. Luke C, I would not be surprised if we lose again tomorrow. Well, can you actually be surprised with Arsenal? You just never know, do you? Yeah, and that's all for the comments. And thank you guys as always. As I said, welcome to the club, mine Ødegaard. And hopefully, with this positive run, we can go smash Manchester United this weekend. As always, please like, subscribe, and until next time, thank you so much.